এখন শপিং এ যাওনি?
সবার শপিং না।
কটা বাজে দেখছো?
বয়সেরই মিরপুর, নতুন বাবুর কাপড় পান্থপথ, মায়ের শাড়ি বেইলি রোড, জুতা পাঞ্জাবি এলিফ্যান্ট রোড, মিরপুর, আগারগাঁও, পান্থপথ, এলিফ্যান্ট রোড, বনানী, এত জায়গায় কখন যাবো? তোর শপিং কোথায় আছে? সব বাদ, এবার শপিং করবো দারাজ থেকে, ঘরে বসে। শপিং এর অলরাউন্ডার দারাজ। ডাউনলোড দারাজ অ্যাপ, হ্যাপি শপিং।
Daraz.
Hello everyone, welcome to Daraz presents Cricfrenzy Live Eid Special powered by Fogg. আমরা জানি যে এখন করোনা নিয়ে সবকিছু নিয়ে আমরা অনেক স্ট্রেসড আছি সবাই। তো এই ঈদের সময়টা আমরা চাইছি যে আপনাদেরকে, যারা আপনারা ক্রিকেট পাগল আছেন, খেলা পাগল আছেন, তাদেরকে কিছুটা স্ট্রেস রিলিজ দিতে, আপনাদের পছন্দের তারকাদের সাথে কথা বলতে। এবং আজকের এপিসোডটা a special episode in every sense. Today's show is going to be a cracking show. There will be a lot of fours and sixes because viewers, hold your breath. We have the number one T20 batsman currently in the world, Dawid Malan, because we are going to have David Miller soon. David, drum rolls. Sorry for the goof up early on. So hope the shows goes well.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all
So,
right.
David, how are you?
Good, thank you. Just got out of quarantine. Yeah, it's been 6 months on the road with a 3-week break out of bubble, so it's been quite a tough time from a mental point of view, and not seeing the family and what have you. But you know, it's glad to be out. First day of freedom, so I did what every Englishman does and went down to the pub for lunch. So pretty much as simple as it can be. But yeah, all good, thank you.
Great. So, David, you're currently the number one T20 batsman in the world. You hold the record for the fastest T20 100 for England. You have the second highest T20 average ever. And not long ago, you were finding it difficult to make your way in the team. So what does it feel like to be at the top of the world?
Yeah, it's still something that hasn't really sunk in. It's something I say quite a lot, is that, you know, I think I'll be more proud of it when I've finished and retired from cricket, that I can look back and say that I achieved that number one ranking. You know, let's all be clear, the number one ranking doesn't mean you're the best batter in the world. It just means you're the number one ranked at this time because of a string of performances that you put. So it's still something I'm extremely proud of. But I enjoy it a lot more when I've retired. When I look back at it the day I hang my boots up. Yeah, but you know, just talking about getting into that England side, you know, they've been setting the bar and it's so high for the last 5 years, and to be on the outside of that is you know, it's great to watch, but you know, when you want to be part of that, that's obviously really hard to do. You know, so when you do get your opportunity, you make sure that you take that opportunity. And thankfully, when I did get that opportunity with people being rested and what have you, I was able to take it and able to force my way into this team. You know, it's still sort of a surreal feeling that you're playing with these guys that won a World Cup and you've worked your way into that. You know, it's hard to get in there, but it's even harder to stay in there with the amount of good players that are knocking on the door behind. So you have to constantly perform and be on your toes, which is a great place to be.
Right. David, many people might be wondering what Dawid Malan is doing on Cricfrenzy, which is one of the fastest growing sports platform in Bangladesh, because not many people know that Dawid Malan and Bangladesh goes back a long, long way. Back in 2013, you participated in Dhaka Premier League for Prime Doleshwar. So what prompted you to come to Bangladesh?
So it was strange, actually. I was sitting on my sofa in England, and Owe Shah the ex-England cricketer dropped me a message and said there's a team out in Bangladesh looking for a player to go and play in the 50 over comp. Ravi Bopara's out there at the moment, and a few of the other English players are out there. Do you fancy it? And I was on a plane the next day and I was out. Myself, Chris Nash, and Josh Cobb. I think we all played together in that team. We were the overseas. And that was my first sort of taste of. I think Bangladesh BPL had been on before that, but obviously it had been banned at that time. So that was my first taste of being an overseas player. In some sort of tournament, and it's amazing how much you learn. Coach Bubble, he was the coach, angry man, but really enjoyed him. He's he coached one of he's always involved in the Bangladesh Premier League well whenever I go over. So he was pretty good at giving me the opportunity to learn and to sort of put myself in different conditions and learn how to play with the pressures of an overseas cricketer. So, that helped me quite a lot moving forward when I did eventually start playing in the BPL and the PSL and tournaments like that. It helped me be ready for that stage. So it was a good learning curve.
We've heard that you were under a lot of pressure, that you were told that you have to perform for the next 4 or 5 games, otherwise you might be sent back to England. Is that true?
Yeah, it's the way that tournament worked. It's performance based, as they say. You pretty much only sign, I think it was a 2 or 3 game contract, go over, and then if you perform, then it would just become a 1-by-1 match contract. And it was so easy to get someone else to fly over and play 2 or 3 games. So it was all done on your performances. I was looked after beautifully by the owner. Shiplu was the owner. So he looked after me brilliantly. I was able to perform that first year, perform consistently. I think we lost in the final that year. The first year, I think Owen Morgan and Tenduskarta played for the opposition team, and Zaidi, I think he was there as well as the overseas. So, that was good. And then I went back the year after as well, and I think we finished second. I can't remember, second or third again. So, it was as I said, it teaches you how to perform under pressure and know that you have to. You have to score runs, otherwise you sort of get dropped, which is what international cricket's about. So it teaches you the good lessons.
Right, absolutely. And it is one of the premier tournaments in Bangladesh, one of the oldest, and it is very prestigious. The local players actually see it as the stepping stone for the national side. So you must have made quite a few good friends in Bangladesh. So tell us a few names whom you enjoyed sharing the dressing room most. Did you make any best friend forever?
So I've been fortunate with Prime Dolishwa, and then in the Bangladesh Premier League, I played with Mushfiq Rahim a few times. I played with Shabir Rahman a few times. So they're guys. Whenever Mushi's over in England, he always messages me. When I'm in Bangladesh, I message him. So, we always stay in touch. And I think that's the beauty of playing in these different leagues, is that you get to meet so many people. You get to meet players that play for their country. You get to learn from them, and you also get to create friendships with these people. And that's something that's, people forget that these tournaments, yes, they're about performances, they're about winning, but it's also about creating those relationships with different countries and different people, which, I've been fortunate enough to make over the years.
Right. Thank you very much. Dawid, we would like to know more about how you started playing cricket and your journey to the English national team. But viewers, apnara dekhchen Daraz presents Cricfrenzy live Eid special, and we have Dawid Malan. I'm right this time. Really sorry again. Apologies, Dawid. And it's powered by Fogg. So we, this is how you become famous. Like, I'm talking about myself. Make stupid mistakes. So, Dawid, you were born in England and raised in South Africa, and your father, what I've heard, if I'm not mistaken, has played some cricket as well. So tell us about the journey from England to South Africa and then to England. Yeah,
so look, the journey. Sorry, my dog's just heard a fly and she's getting a bit scared, so she needs to go down here. So we'll put her here. She gets really scared of flies for some other reason. There's a fly in here. But,
what's her name?
Crop her out a little bit.
Yes. What's her name?
Her name's Bonnie. You want to make an appearance?
Okay.
Look.
Yeah, Bonnie can be on the screen. It's fine.
But yeah, so it's the journey. As a kid, your parents decide to go over to South Africa. You sort of jump on that. I played all my school cricket for part time. My dad's cricket mad, like really. I wouldn't say pushed us into cricket. He gave us the opportunity to play all sports. But sort of, cricket was the one that I was good at. Myself and my brother really played quite a lot. My dad enjoyed it as well. He played a few first-class games. He was absolutely hopeless from checking at his stats. But he would love to get a ball out and bolt us in the back. That was my journey into get into cricket. I made my professional or semi-professional debut. I think it's classed as first-class cricket in South Africa, but it's sort of under an amateur form for Boland cricket in 2006. Went over on a gap year to England just to go and play a bit of club cricket and coach. Was in the right place, the right time. The right person saw me. I got an opportunity to play for the MCC Young Cricketers on trial. Did well for them. And the gentleman who was coaching MCC Young Cricketers, Clive Radley at the time, recommended me to Middlesex because a few counties were sniffing around. And Middlesex signed me without ever seeing me play. So that's, I owe a lot to Clive Radley for putting in that word. Obviously he's a Middlesex legend and England legend. And yeah, played for Middlesex for 12, 13, 14 years before moving up to Yorkshire. And, got a call up for the England Lions 2015, did really well for them there. And the year after, got a call up for the England T20 squad, didn't play. In 2016, that was my first taste of sort of watching how the boys train and go about things. And then when I finally got my opportunity, I managed to get 70 something against South Africa at Cardiff, and that sort of started my international career. And everyone talks about you work your whole career for that one opportunity, and that's pretty much what it was. I've worked my socks off to get one chance to play for England. Finally got it. And thankfully I took it, and that opened up the door for the other formats.
So, you have to wait a long, long time. I think you were 30 when you made your debut in international cricket. So was it always a big dream for you to play for England? One big goal? I know you love playing cricket, but was it like always right up there that one day you're going to represent England?
Well, look, when I grew up in South Africa, obviously, and I've made no secret of it, when you grow up in an environment, you look at a country and that's the country that you've been schooled in and what have you. So growing up, I wanted to play international cricket. It was probably more for South Africa at the time, until I actually moved over to England full time. I moved over to South Africa when we were 7. So all my schooling and everything was about, South Africa and playing for South Africa. So, international cricket was the pinnacle. That's what I wanted to do. All my idols were South Africans at the time. And then I think the 2005 Ashes, was what sort of wanted me to come over to England after school and as I said, do a gap year. And if things worked out, they worked out. So that was, pretty good for me. Yeah, I forgot what the question was. I went on a tangent. My apologies.
Yeah, but I think I've got my answer because I asked you if it was your one big goal to play for England, but like you
But yes,
explained
sorry,
that
my one goal, and
yeah.
then and then eventually I achieved my dream of playing international cricket.
Right. Yeah. So who was your heroes growing up? You said like you had many South African heroes.
Yeah, Gary Kirsten. I was an opening batsman at school. The nuggety, tough left-hander batter that sort of churned out the runs for South Africa. And I was fortunate enough that when I finished school, I was able to do some work with him, do some work and stay in touch with him when I do go back to South Africa. So that's great that and it's funny how life turns out that you can sort of look up to someone and then, as your journey sort of unfolds, that you sort of get to work with those idols and they can have a great impact on your career moving forward.
Right. And coincidentally, you had your debut against South Africa and you were the man of the match, scored a fantastic 78. So how special was it for you?
Yeah, it was good. You know, my parents were in the crowd that day. Sorry, but let me just let this dog out. She's so scared of this fly. Come on, go see. Go. Yeah, so my parents were in the crowd, so that was fantastic. Obviously, my dad being born in South Africa, the proud South African, watching his son play for England against South Africa, I think swapped him to want to support England from them. But you know, to play against guys that you'd watch, you know, AB was obviously playing for South Africa when I started, so to be able to play against guys like that, you know, on the international scene and to perform as I did was obviously a dream come true. You know, I think every single one of us wants to play international cricket. We all want to play against best. You know, but it's whether you're good enough to do that, whether you're good enough to walk on the field with all those guys. You know, and thankfully I scored runs and proved to myself that I am good enough at that level. You know, against the best from a different country. You know, and that definitely did help me moving forward with my cricket.
Yeah. So despite you having a decent start to your international career, so you weren't playing for the England side regularly early on. So how did you motivate yourself during that time to make a comeback?
Yeah, there were some tough times, I must admit. You know, when you sort of get picked and you don't get a game, and then, you know, you get picked, you do well, you know, and then for the next series you don't get picked again, and then you get picked again when people are rested, and then you do really well again. And then you get that phone call and you think, oh, I'm going to be in the next squad again. And then suddenly out of the squad. I'm not going to lie. There were some really tough times, you know, of the sort of highs and the lows. You know, everyone talks about how high the highs are in international cricket, but also the lows people don't really touch on, you know. So you go from, you know, being, say, the leading run scorer in a series and thinking, you know what, I've sort of got half a foot in the door here. Then suddenly the next phone call you get, you're not in that squad. So you know, you ride those ups and the downs, and you know, it's going well, and it's not so good when it's not going well. You know, so I say that was probably the toughest bit of it. But you know, that motivated me even more to work even harder. You know, I'm one of these guys that hits a hell of a lot of cricket balls. You know, I believe the more I work and the more I do the right things consistently over, that when the pressure's on, I'm able to do that instinctively. So I work really hard at my game. You know, whether that's helped me in international cricket, I don't know. Whether that's made a difference, I don't know, because there's people that do train less that are much better international cricketers than what I am. You know, but that was sort of my sort of theory on it, was just go back, work extremely hard, learn from the things that you pick up from the other international cricketers. You know, we're fortunate that when you're in and around the England white squad, especially, you're learning from, you know, Butler, Stokes, Morgan, guys that have, you know, lit the world on fire, Bairstow, Roy, and have done it for so long. So you watch how they go about it, you watch their attitudes, you watch how they train, you know, and that just serves you well moving forward, especially when you're trying to break into that team.
Right. Dawid, you have played so far 24 T20 internationals, 15 test matches, and only 3 one-day internationals. And 2 of them were this year in March. So you are amazing in shortest version of the game. So why didn't your one-day career fly?
Opportunities, you know, that's all you can put it down to. The only way you can score runs in international cricket is if you get a chance. You know, I think I was, you know, in that cycle of when England were preparing for that 50 over World Cup, so they played their best team in every single 50 over game, sort of leading up to that World Cup, which is why I got the opportunities in T20s, because they were resting guys from the T20s. You know, so that was an extremely tough team, and it just shows, you know, they won the World Cup. So what they did was the right thing. They picked the right players, which is, you know, ultimately the goal. You know, it's always easy in hindsight to say, oh, if we didn't win the World Cup, we should have done X, Y, Z. But, you know, they picked the players. Those players proved to be the right players, and they won the World Cup, which was absolutely an amazing achievement for that group of players and for England cricket. You know, so that was tough. And then, you know, sort of the next cycle, they're now preparing for the next World Cup in a couple of years' time. So, you know, you're part of the one, and then the next one, they're sort of looking to give experience to younger players, just in case people break down with injury before a World Cup, or decide to retire, especially the guys that sort of more Morgan's age, my age, Mo and Ali, we're all sort of Adil Rashid, also similar ages. And if suddenly 4 guys decide to hang up their boots at once or all get injured, then there's no younger players that have been given the opportunity. So that's sort of the reasons I've been given. I haven't played. I'd love to play over cricket. That's my strongest format. But the people you're competing against in that 50-over team are Jason Roy, Johnny Bairstow, and Joe Root, who have been unbelievable. So to break into that, and even if I went back 4, you have to come up against Owen Morgan, who's scored the most runs for England in ODI cricket. So it's not an easy team to break into. Joe Root's obviously an absolute scores run fun. So yeah, I'd love to play more 50-over cricket. It's my strongest format, actually, statistically, and the one that I enjoy the most. It gives me more problems to solve, which I really enjoy when I'm batting. But hopefully, as time moves on, hopefully I can get more opportunities. And if not, at least I got 3 games. 3 games are better than none.
Right, absolutely. And also, same goes with your Test career. You played your last Test match in 2018 against India, and in 2020 you have scored your first class double 100 for Yorkshire. So, are you sending a message? Are you trying to make a comeback in the Test squad? Where does your Test plan fit in your future plan?
Oh, look, I'd love to play all 3 formats of cricket for England. I played 15 Test matches. I started really badly. My first 2 Tests, I think I averaged 5 or 6 or 7. I thought I dragged that really well at one point. And my sort of last 5 Test innings, I just wasn't good enough. And to average 28, after 15 Tests wasn't, ideal. Even though I do think I have the game and the temperament. Ed Smith came out and said I didn't. I still think I do have the game, and after that, when I got dropped from 2019 till now, I've actually scored a lot of runs. I've done what they've asked me to do, so I'm banging the door down. Since 2019 to 2020, and then ultimately it's now in their hands whether I'm good or not. You can only put the runs on the board, and hopefully that's good enough.
Right. So, Dawid, we are going to take a couple of questions from the fans. We have many of them. I'll pick a few. Mohammad Ilyas, he asked, what makes you motivated to be the number 1 batsman in the world, and what needs to be followed by a young player to be a good T20 player?
Oh, gosh, I think T20 cricket now, you have to have the power. I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you could get away with just boundaries and just hitting 4s. I think you have to be able to have the power to hit 6s when it's needed now. I think the game has changed dramatically. You only have to watch some of these T20 leagues and some of the international games that go on, how 220, 230 can be chased down pretty easly. You look at someone like Virat Kohli, who's one of the best all-format players around the world. He's hit over 20 IPL 6s. For a player who you probably don't think hits a lot of 6s, he hits a hell of a lot of 6s. It's that's the way it goes. So I think you have to have that power. I still think the basics in T20 are key. There's not many T20 players around the world that have been the successful T20 players in the world that haven't played Test cricket and done well at Test cricket at some point. So I think having those basics in play and just having options, if you can have the options and be able to take the right options at the right time and have no fear taking those options, I believe the T20 game will go in the right direction very quickly.
Okay, so Moshir asked, Dawid, what will be your suggestion for the current Bangladesh cricket team to do well in T20 cricket? I'm sure you follow Bangladesh team, yeah.
Yeah, I follow all cricket. As we spoke earlier, you've got friends and things in different teams that you sort of follow and you hope they do well. Look, I think Bangladesh have got an extremely talented team. They've got some unbelievable players. I think that the key for them is just to put it all together at the right time. They definitely have the players to do that. I'm not, it's not for me to comment on what they have to do. I think that's the coach and the captain's job to work that out. So I need to be treading a line, but I definitely think they have the players to sort of challenge, especially with the World Cup coming up in subcontinent conditions. It plays to the strength of Bangladesh as well. So hopefully they can put together. Hopefully, it's not against England. Hopefully, they can not put that together if England play against Bangladesh in that World Cup. But yeah, you hope they all do well.
Yeah, good answer. Fab asked, "Hi, Dawid. I have a question for you. How much your experience of playing in slow turning tracks in BPL, the Bangladesh Premier League, will help to prepare better for the upcoming T20 World Cup?"
Yeah, look, first and foremost, the T20 World Cup, we don't really know where it's going to be, and we also don't know who's going to be playing in that. I'd love to play in that, but that's not up to me. So, on the chance that I was to make it to that World Cup with England, I think playing in the Bangladesh Premier League has taught me a hell of a lot about playing on turning wickets. I think the beauty of Bangladesh is that you can play on a wicket today could be a 200 wicket, and you play on it tomorrow, and it's a 120 wicket, and it turns. One skids and one turns, and I think that's the beauty of having to learn to adapt and having a game to be able to play on both, because it's very easy to just have a game that suits one. I think I've learned a lot. Even batting in the nets. Sometimes you rock up and you face spin in the nets, and it's an absolute belt wicket, and you're able to hit the spin everywhere. And then the next day you walk in and it's turning square. So you learn different game plans. You learn different ways of scoring. I don't think it's ever easy when it's. I think the tough thing, especially when you're batting first, is to work out what's a good score. Because as I said, it takes one guy to hit Chancey's arm and hit 20 and over, and you get that 150, and the game's over if you get 150. So it is tough, but it's been a great learning curve.
Yes, and you've done really well in the latest Bangladesh Premier League. You played for Kumilla Warriors, and you scored 444 runs. That's a whole lot of runs. And as I've said, like subcontinent's wickets are not easy to bat on, especially for an English cricketer. So, anything special you did in the nets or with the coaches that helped you to adapt?
No, I think the one thing that people don't notice as well is, when you play in these tournaments, whether it be PSL or Bangladesh Premier League or IPL, you end up just batting in positions that suit the team. Ultimately, I'm an opening batsman. That's the position I bat in. I bat 3 for England. But every time I rock up in these tournaments, I end up having to bat 4 and 5, just because you're a left-hander, especially in the subcontinent, arm spinners and leggies, and because you bat 3 for England and have batted 3, they sort of think that you can slot in those middle orders. And I think that's probably been the biggest learning curve, is just because I open the batting in county cricket. That's what I've done so well over the years to get me the opportunity to play for England, and to earn that right to play for England. Suddenly you're batting at 4 and 5 in these tournaments on wickets, turning wickets. People look at strike rates and look at runs and look at all these things, but they don't look at the positions you're batting in, if you're batting in and out of position. So, that's probably been the biggest learning curve for me, is when you go to Bangladesh and these places, you bat out of position, so that it actually teaches you a different skill from what you're actually used to. So it adds extra bows to your string. I would love to keep the batting in the subcontinent. I mean, that year where I scored 440, I opened the batting once and I got 100. And then I didn't open the batting again. I ended up batting 4 and 5 in the game. So it does get frustrating, but it teaches you so many new skills.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Hello?
I've got
Can you hear me?
You got me?
Yes. I got you. Sorry, lost you for a second. Yeah. So my next question is, IPL is considered to be the ultimate T20 tournament, and you being the number 1 T20 batsman would definitely want to feature in the tournament, and it took a long time coming for you. So how was it? What was it like to be featured in IPL? And do you think that it came at the right time? Like when you were performing, when you started back in 2017, maybe you were not prepared for IPL.
I don't think you can ever not be prepared for it. I think until you get given an opportunity, you never know if you are ready or not. I think if you're ready to play international cricket and deemed to be ready, then there's no reason why you can't play in the IPL, Bangladesh Premier League, PSL, CPL, all the leagues that go around you. There's no reason why you can't. For me, it was a dream come true to play in the IPL. As you said, it's the premium tournament in the world. The best tournament in the world. By numbers, by viewers, by players. It's the one that everyone's desperate to play in. So for me to be part of that was unbelievable. Obviously, just as I got given a chance, the tournament was postponed, sadly. Obviously, there's bigger issues in life than playing cricket, especially with the COVID situation going on in India. But it was a dream come true for me. I'd have loved to have experienced it in a non-COVID era with crowds and sort of all the hype around it. I think that's probably the most disappointing part of my experience of the IPL was that I didn't get to experience, the fans and the passion that everyone has around it. You can see it on social media, but you don't really get that feel of it when you're at an empty stadium. So it would have been absolutely awesome to get that opportunity, and hopefully, I can get into the end of this IPL when it's continue playing, and hopefully, if I get another opportunity, can do well enough to earn a contract for the year or to get picked up in the draft in the year after, because you want to play in the premium leagues and tournaments and put yourself against the best. That's why you play this game.
And we hope that you get to experience the real IPL next year, and everything gets okay, and everything comes back to normal with crowd. Like everything comes back to normal, not the new normal actually, with crowds in the stadium, with all the fanfare and music and everything. So, and right now we have a surprise guest with us. He's one of the fans, one of your big fan, Jayed. Jayed is going to join us and ask you a question. Can we have Jayed on screen, please? Okay, give me a second. Okay, so Jayed is having some issues with the connection. So we'll go back to the IPL and BPL comparison, because we have a lot of questions about, like, you have answered actually. You think like IPL is the premier tournament, but my question is, it's from a fan, that what are the things in BPL that you think needs to be improved?
Oh, look, I think the BPL is a fantastic tournament. The local Bangladesh players, whether they played international cricket or not, are extremely good and extremely talented. You still get the same overseas players that play in the IPL, in the BPL. I remember playing a team where they had Russell and Pollard and Afridi all in the same team. That's as good as an IPL team gets in terms of overseas players and what have you. Obviously, I know Shahid Afridi can't play for various reasons. And you can see when the wickets are really good in Bangladesh. They're high-scoring games, they're close games, they're entertaining games. That's me as a batsman speaking, that you always want the flattest wickets and the high-scoring ones. But look, I think it's hard to compare tournaments and say this one's standard's better, this one's better than this one, because every country has different strengths. Bangladesh, I'd probably say the spin is probably their strength, whereas you look at India now, the low fast bowlers are unbelievably good. Not that the Bangladesh bowlers aren't good, they're still unbelievable, but it's probably India's strength, as well as their spinners, is probably leaning to, Pakistan have got unbelievably good quick bowls, and really quick bowls. They bowl really quick. So I think every sort of tournament has their things that they have, and that they're probably really, really good at. As I said, it's hard to compare standards. I haven't played in the IPL, but everyone that has played just says that standard, the intensity, the expectation, the finances and things that's put into it sort of makes it, not that it doesn't mean as much, it means exactly the same for you as a player when you walk on the field, but it's just the hype of it sort of elevates the performances so much more, because there's so much riding on it.
So I have another question, a fan question, and Rashid is asking that you are the number one T20 batsman in the world right now, and you also hold the record for the fastest 1,000 runs in T20 cricket. So what is the key to your success?
Well, I think the key to my success is playing with a bunch of guys that are that good at white ball cricket, that enables you to just go out and play with freedom. You know, the environment that we play in allows you to fail, make mistakes, and learn and get better. You know, when you see Joss Butler whacking them at the other end, it drags you with you. He drags you with him. You don't sort of take a backward step. You join in, and you sort of piggyback. And you know, the whole thing is for me is to keep showing these guys that I belong, showing these guys that I'm good enough, and that sort of drives me. That drives me massively in that team. Yeah.
Right. So my question is, you know, since you know a lot about the Bangladesh domestic cricket and a lot of, but international cricket is altogether a different ballgame. And we have seen many Bangladeshi players who have done really well in domestic cricket, finds it difficult to cope in the international cricket. So what would be your advice for them, or like the aspiring cricketers?
Yeah, I think for me that you know, I can only comment about myself, but the thing that I find that's worked for me is I found something after playing in all these tournaments that works for me, and I believe 100% that way is a way that I can score runs quick enough and win games of cricket for England. That's what I believe, and I fully believe that. And I trust that method whenever I go to the crease. Yes, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but I trust that method. I don't try and play a different way today just because someone's writing something, and I don't try and do something different because someone expects me to play something differently. Because every time we walk out to bat, everyone expects you to get 50 or 25 balls, or 50 or 30 balls as a top four batter. You know, but it's almost putting that aside, putting your ego aside, and almost just trusting your process and trusting what you do in your game that got you to play in the BPL, or got you to play in the IPL, or got you to play in Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or wherever it is, that method is good enough at that level. Yes, as you earn the right to keep playing at that level, you will pick up certain things that you might get better at, whether that be your power hitting, whether that be, you know, playing seam or spin or different areas at different times that you go, maybe changing your tempo, whatever the situation is, you'll pick things up. And that's where it's so good. If you're playing in a team where there's so many experienced players, you pick those things up naturally, and you learn very quickly. But the whole key is to trust your own game, to earn the right to keep scoring runs, to earn the right to keep being in that environment where you can learn quickly.
Right. Dawid, England got knocked out from the 2015 World Cup by Bangladesh. Fond memories for us, of course. But I think that was a defining match for English cricket for me, because I think like from there on, everything changed. The overall, I think like for me as a fan from outside, like I thought like the England team had a completely different mindset. So more firepower, more intent. Actually, what changed? Was it a conscious effort to win the next World Cup, the 2019 World Cup?
Yeah, look, I wasn't actually part of that. You know, I wasn't part of those discussions in 2015. I wasn't part of the squad. I wasn't part of that revamped 50 over cricket. So that's quite hard for me to sort of give insight of what happened. I can only tell you my experiences from when I was in and around that 50 over team from 2018. You know, they're always wanting to push the limits and the boundaries of the game. They're always going to take the positive option to keep pushing those boundaries and to keep learning and not give themselves any limits. And I think that's the one key thing that keeps driving this team. You know, just because they scored 420 in a game doesn't mean they can't score 450. They're not saying, well, 420 is our limit. They're going, well, let's try and get 450 next week. So they keep pushing their limits. Obviously, you have to have the right players and the talented players. And, you know, just from listening to all the conversations of the guys that were involved in those decisions that were made, as I said, I wasn't part of them, but, you know, you read things and you listen to guys doing interviews, you know, they believed that the way they were playing cricket at the time probably wasn't going to win the 2019 World Cup, you know, so they decided to pick players and to play a brand of cricket that they believed could win in the World Cup in 2019. You know, and at the time, there was obviously a lot of criticism from, you know, pundits and what have you about, some of the times they went too hard and what have you, but they learned what they can do. They pushed their limits, and it's paid off, and they've been exceptionally good. That bunch of cricketers have basically redeveloped how 50 over cricket is played. And it's so exciting to watch, be part of.
So where were you during the 2019 World Cup final? Were you in the stadium at Lord's?
No, I was playing. I'm pretty sure I was playing at Cardiff in a 4-day game. I think we might have just won the game, or it was the end of day's play. I can't remember which of day 3, something like that. But I remember us walking off the field and then sitting and watching the sort of super overs and things and how that went about. What an experience, what a game that was. Low scoring game. And it just showed. The pressure of World Cup and mistakes and things that get made. It was fascinating to watch, and it was an unbelievably good day for those guys who've worked so hard. Obviously, sad day for New Zealand, but great day for those guys who've worked so hard to achieve that. And for English cricket, because it put cricket right on the map again in England. Obviously disappointing the pandemic sort of hit at that at a time when cricket was growing. So hopefully, the boys can sort of start doing that again and start getting that following in cricket back again.
Right. Do you think after that, after the World Cup, more young boys are taking up the sports just for fun or thinking of taking it up as a career? Because, like in England, there's, of course, rugby and football. So there's stiff competition for cricket.
Yeah, there is. I wouldn't say just boys. I think girls as well.
Right.
The way the England girls team has been fantastic as well. They won the World Cup. So I think the combination of both of that is driving the game across. The boys and the girls game. There was massive interest and uptake from what I understand after that World Cup. Obviously, as I said, the pandemic hit and it sort of put everyone in the summer on their backside, sitting in the house waiting for lockdown to end, which was obviously sad, considering how well those two teams done to grow the game. And as I said, hopefully, with what's coming up with all the World Cups and things, whoever the England team is that gets to play that, in that World Cup, hopefully they can do well enough to win and keep inspiring the next generation to keep playing the game.
Thank you, David. I have 2 more questions for you, but for our viewers, jara dekhchen, apnara dekhchen Daraz presents Cricfrenzy Live Eid Special, and we have Dawid Malan here with us, and this program is powered by Fogg. So, David, tell us, what's your favorite Bangladeshi dish? Do you enjoy Bangladeshi food? Is it too spicy for you, by the way?
Yeah, a lot of it is too spicy for me. I must admit, I'm not a spice man. The thing I eat a lot, I don't actually know if it is a Bangladeshi dish, but the thing I eat a lot when I go there is the chicken biryani.
Okay.
That's my go-to there. So I just stick to that, whatever that is. So yeah. Hello.
কি রে রাসেল, তোকে না বললাম সাবান শ্যাম্পু অর্ডার করতে?
মা, গেম খেলে ভাউচারটা দিতাম তো তোমার অর্ডার দেওয়ার জন্যই।
থ্যাংক ইউ বাবা।
ওয়াও, এত তাড়াতাড়ি চলে এলো।
হ্যালো স্যার, আপনি কি আছেন? জি স্যার, আমি আসছি।
শত বাধার মধ্যেও আমরা দেশ জুড়ে ডেলিভারি করছি আপনাদের নিত্য প্রয়োজনীয় সকল পণ্য। তাই সবাই ঘরে থাকুন, নিরাপদে থাকুন। ডেলিভারি আমরাই করছি।
Hello.